And a very warm welcome to East Fortune Airfield in East Lothian for my inaugural flight, courtesy of Charles, Matthew and Oliver and their families. Many thanks, guys. And we got all togged up and ready, and here we are in the aircraft, and we'll take it from here. A short taxi out from the hangar up to the end of the runway, do some flight checks and make sure everything's working correctly. First impression so far was it's pretty small. Cozy, I think, is the expression they use. For one who's got a bit of vertigo, a little bit of anticipation here. Trying out the wings, making sure everything's smooth and easy. Instructor today is Graham Ritchie from East of Scotland Microlights, and he goes over some of the controls of the airplane with me, including the sat nav. As you can see there, he's doing setting the altimeter 120 feet above sea level, which is where the airfield is. Meanwhile, the engine's running, getting up to the required temperature. And once that's done, and as it should be, we can have the short taxi to the other end of the runway. Facing into the west, a very, very slight breeze today. Not a lot. Just as well, makes for a nice, smooth flight. No sunshine, unfortunately, but hey, you can't have everything. And this is the moment of truth. A bit of power now, and away we go. And I have to tell you, it is smooth as a whistle. 5 mile an hour headwind. Veering off to the left now, we decide we'll probably go over to the Lammermuirs. Head over, that's the A1 you see down there in front of you. Thistley Bridge over the River Tyne on the left-hand corner bottom. And we reach the Lammermuirs a few minutes later. Remnants of that snowstorm we had east from the beast, or beast from the east, whichever way you look at it. In front of you now is Crystal Rig. Huge wind farm on the Lammermuirs, 85 turbines. Interestingly enough, the Lammermuir Hills, one of the most prolific grouse moors in Scotland, just in case you're interested. Isn't that a marvellous view? Heading back off to the east now, we're going to head up to the coast, close to Dunbar. So we're approaching the coast now. See the town of Dunbar down there, Winterfield Golf Club on the nose of the airplane. And the beach down there, there's a bridge to nowhere they call it. If you haven't heard about it, then Google it. It's an interesting local feature. Turning northwards now, away from Dunbar, and we're going to follow the coast. Next stop is going to be, well, hardly a stop, but the next feature is going to be the Bass Rock, which you can see in the distance there. Beautiful coastline. Just a pity about the weather today, it's a little overcast. Beautiful nevertheless. They say these microlights are like motorbikes with wings on them. And I wouldn't disagree with that. There's not a lot there, you're very much open to the elements, but it makes it all the more exhilarating. Here we are now approaching the Bass Rock. Different view This was a camera attached to my wrist. Fascinating place, the Bass Rock, by the way. Has the biggest colony of gannets in the world. Somewhere around about 50,000 couples, I believe. They've started to arrive already. It's the middle of March. If we wanted to go over to Fife from here, we'd have to climb to 5,000 feet. Graham tells me the reason for that is that you can glide down either side at that height if the engine should fail. So I asked the obvious question, you know, microlights and engines, what happens when the engine does fail? And he said, well, nothing actually, it's nothing happens at all, there's no drama. I'll show you if you're up for it, he says, we'll just cut the engine. So I said, okay, let's do it. Watch for the hand throttle, that little white thing on his left hand side. He's going to put that down to 0, let the engine idle. Won't be completely switched off, but it'll be near enough. And we're now just coasting, or gliding. Coming around to a field that we had a look at earlier on. Suitable one for landing. There's absolutely no thrust in that engine at the moment. It's just gliding along. Plenty of time. And absolutely no problem at all. Have to do a couple of circuits just to get the speed down, get the altitude down. And then line up with this field, which if the engine had cut out and had been a problem, this is exactly what we would have done. Take a right hand now and line up. Still just gliding, that engine is idling. And if we had to, we could land in this field. We've come down to something like, I don't know, 15, 20 feet off the ground. But before we touch down, throttle is applied, and up we go. North Berwick Law in front of us. We have to climb to 1,000 feet, which is the minimum. You can fly over buildings or towns, built up area. There's the Law down below us now. Town of North Berwick. There's lovely beaches and golf courses. Beautiful bit of coastline this. We were just taken away here now from North Berwick. Going up to Musselburgh was the idea. However, as very often happens, there's a squall coming down the firth, a bit of rain. So we decide that we'll just take a left-hander here, cut across, go back to Haddington. Of course, it never rains in Haddington. So we're travelling in a westerly direction now. Southwesterly, actually. And below you there is Archerfield Complex, 2 golf courses, some beautiful properties. Wonderful place to be, I have to tell you. Trimming up the aircraft there, that's auto trim. And that green strip down there you see just in front of the aircraft in the middle of the picture, that is Archerfield grass strip. Some aerobatics done there, courtesy of the Hamilton family, I believe. Not for me though, I prefer this nice smooth flying in a microlight. So here we are crossing the A1, or just crossed it, and that's Haddington below us. And down there, sort of centre towards the bottom, is Longcram, which is where I live, right down there. Garden's looking not too bad, a few crocuses coming out. Yes, just there, Graham, just there. I don't know how many times I see these microlights up from the garden. Interesting to see it from the other perspective. And then we come round and here's the new developments. This will date this movie, that's for sure. Dovecot there, which is under construction at the bottom. Pencaitland Road in between. And the Letham development there. Brownfield at the moment, but they'll be starting building very shortly. And then we'll take a southerly bend over to the right. A1 you can see on the left hand side of the picture. And just south of the town is Haddington Golf Course. Usually at this time on a Tuesday morning I should be around about the 4th, maybe the 5th hole, putting for a birdie with any luck. Probably see the guys down there waving. They know I was coming up today, so we're just swinging around. That's Amosfield Garden down on the bottom right hand corner, and the golf course just ahead of it. If you haven't played Haddington, you want to get yourself down there. Everybody talks about the Golf Coast and the links courses in East Lothian, but Haddington is a superb parkland course, great condition, worth a try. And the town itself of Haddington, there it is, the High Street, Market Street, playing fields, school, hospital. Lovely market town for East Lothian. And then we're going to cut back over the fields of East Lothian back to East Fortune. You can see it down there in the left corner bottom. We've got a bit of height to lose, so we're going to take a couple of turns around. That is the Museum of Flight down there, just underneath the aircraft now, with the runway, the old East Fortune runway there. We'll be doing another circuit, just losing height as we go. Here we come down now again, approaching the Museum of Flight, which you can see on the left hand side. Fabulous place to visit if you haven't been. There it is, turning round to the left to line up with the runway. Lining up nicely now, and we cross the road before touching down. And how's that for a very smooth landing? Well done, Graham. Almost exactly 1 hour since we left, and I have to tell you, if you've never tried flying a microlight, and you want somebody to get you a nice present at Christmas time, I tell you, you could do a lot worse. You'd thoroughly enjoy it, and I highly recommend it. Just taxiing now back into the hangar area, and a big thanks again to the 3 lads and their families, Matthew, Oliver and Charlie. Great present to receive, and I can quite easily see how you could get hooked on this sport, no question. I suspect I'll be back. In the meantime, thank you to East of Scotland Microlights. You've done a great job for me. Wonderful flight, and we'll see you again.